The notice of our service master on the only way by which we can attain universal service. I bow to the Lord seek the great awe of reverence. By his grace over across the ocean of material suffering and the free universe of Krishna. My only wish is that my conscience is purified by the Lord's enemy and the Lord's knowledge. I passion for the Lord's secret perfection and fulfill all the desires. He opens my dark eyes and fills my heart with pleasure and heavenly knowledge. He is my Lord bird, from him that is the proud ending, and by him interested in the story. The deep scriptures give me heaven. Our spiritual master is the ultimate mercy is never before, and the Lord is my servant will be. Oh, Master, be merciful unto me. Give me the shade of your lotus feet, and may you spread all over the world. You take justice in your lotus feet, you are spread your lotus fall. All the children of God, all those who create.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Vijana Balava Girivaradhari Vijana Balava Girivaradhari Yashoda Nandana Bhajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Bhajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Balava Girivaradhari Yashoda Nandana Bhajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Prabhupada ki jai. So we are continuing with our reading. Today's our day for reading Srila Prabhupada Nectar book. So we're continuing with that. And anyone who's listening from outside or here, well, if you're listening from outside, and some are here, I see. If you have questions or comments, just send them in, and we'll get to them when at the end of it. Okay, so we are on. If you actually have the book, it's page 290. It says if you be volume 4, it says number 27. During a visit to Dallas, Gurukula, Prabhupada heard from the devotees of a local school teacher. He heard of a local school teacher who was becoming interested in Krishna consciousness. The man was anxious to see Srila Prabhupada, and Prabhupada agreed. As soon as he met Srila Prabhupada, the teacher began to pour out his heart about his personal difficulty. The man explained that in order to make extra money, he was also driving a school bus. A few weeks ago, while driving his bus, he had run over and killed a young school child. Now he was being brought to court in a legal case. As the man went on with his story, a few of the devotees present felt sorry that Prabhupada had to hear all of it. But Prabhupada seemed very interested, and he began asking detailed questions. Had you come to a full stop? Prabhupada asked. The teacher explained that the accident occurred on Valentine's Day. One of the children had dropped his Valentine, and it fell under the bus. The child had climbed under the bus to get it. The child told Srila Prabhupada that he had looked both ways in his rearview mirror and didn't see any children. It had looked like all the children had crossed to the other side of the road. But when he started the bus, the wheel went over the child. Srila Prabhupada asked the man if the company had insurance. After hearing the whole story and asking different questions, Prabhupada said that it seemed that the teacher had followed all the safety precautions and that definitely any court of law would hold him blameless. When he heard Srila Prabhupada's decision, the teacher became relieved. Then Srila Prabhupada, who was sitting in a rocking chair, began to preach to the teacher and the few devotees present. The light blue curtains and the clean white walls of the room became effulgent in the last rays of sunlight streaming through the windows. Srila Prabhupada spoke of a recent new article about the scientist Wernher von Braun. The famous scientist had recently stated publicly that after all his research, he had concluded that there must be a creator, a supreme being, and that all scientists should come together and by different methods establish his existence without a doubt. Bring that news article, Prabhupada said. And as the article was read about the scientists who accepted God, Prabhupada became enlivened and made further points. He explained that the whole universe is like a big machine, and there is no question of any machine operating without a controller. There had to be a personality operating it. God, therefore, is a scientific fact, and now a world-famous scientist was recognizing this. Prabhupada, this is really wonderful, one of the devotees exclaimed. Prabhupada agreed and said that they were sending a set of his books to Wernher von Braun. Prabhupada, if he becomes a devotee, he is so famous, He is the one who made the V-2 rocket. Prabhupada corrected the devotees and said that he was not interested in Werner von Braun because he was famous. He said he was interested to preach to anyone who had come to the right point. Because the scientists had come to the right point, of inquiry and was interested in God, Prabhupada was interested to preach to him. We don't care for any big famous personalities, Prabhupada said. After Prabhupada had spoken for over an hour, one of the devotees again brought his attention to the visiting school teacher. Prabhupada, this teacher, got an award from his school for being the best teacher of that county. Yes, said Prabhupada. Next 28. While visiting Vrindavan before the Krishna Balaram Mandir was built, Srila Prabhupada used to sometimes stay in his original rooms at the Radha Damodar temple. On one visit, Yamuna Devi Dasi asked if she could cook for him, and Srila Prabhupada agreed. While Yamuna was cooking chapatis in one half of the kitchen, and Srila Prabhupada was eating prasadam at the far end of the same room, Prabhupada's servant, Shrutakirti, entered the room to watch. So you have taken prasadam? Srila Prabhupada asked. No, Shrutakirti replied, I just bathed. Yamuna, fix him a plate of prasadam, said Srila Prabhupada. No, Shrutakirti protested. That's all right. I'll wait until you're finished, Srila Prabhupada. No, said Srila Prabhupada. Sit down and take prasadam. So Shrutakirti sat down and received a plate from Yamuna. Under Prabhupada's direction, she continued making chapatis and serving both Prabhupada and his servant. So today she has fixed your lunch, said Prabhupada. Now tomorrow you cook for her. This is the Vedic custom. Today she has done some service for you. Now tomorrow you must serve her. Yes, Prabhupada, said Shrutakirti. Looking through the lattice work into the courtyard of Rupa Goswami's samadhi, Prabhupada began to reminisce. He said that often he would sit here and take prasadam and look at the samadhi and bhajan kutir of Rupa Goswami. He said he was hoping Rupa Goswami would give him facility to spread the Krishna consciousness movement. During the same period, a startling incident took place with a monkey. Srila Prabhupada was lecturing to a group of people in his small room. One man had brought a bunch of bananas and placed them at Prabhupada's feet. All of a sudden, a monkey ran into the room and grabbed for the bananas. Prabhupada also grabbed for the bananas and got most of them, while the monkey got one or two and ran out the other door. The whole thing had happened very quickly, and Prabhupada was also quick to use the incident for teaching Krishna consciousness. Just see how expert the monkey is, Prabhupada explained. He said that every species of life has their expertise to get some food. Srila took every opportunity to preach. 29. Little drops of nectar. During 1977, while Srila Prabhupada was staying in Vrindavan, Pushkar Das was also there, working on a painting. Pushkar's practice was to paint on the front balcony of a room in the guest house. For a long time, he had worked on a rendition of Krishna playing his flute with the cowherd boys making offerings to him. Finally, he got an appointment to see Srila Prabhupada and showed him the painting. Prabhupada looked at it for 30 or 40 seconds without saying anything. Pushkar became worried. On previous occasions, Prabhupada had said that he was expert and had made other complimentary remarks. Looking at Pushkar, Srila Prabhupada asked, "What is the idea?" "Well, Krishna is there." Pushkar, "Well, Krishna is there." Pushkar was now getting nervous. He had already guessed Prabhupada didn't like the painting, playing his flute by the Yamuna. Where is it in the book?" asked Prabhupada. Pushkar then realized he hadn't been thinking of anything in the books. "Well, Prabhupada," he said, "the pastimes are unlimited, aren't they?" "Krishna is unlimited," said Prabhupada, "but you are limited. Stick to the book." "It is all right for publication. Is it all right for publication?" asked Pushkar. Prabhupada didn't say no, but he didn't look very happy. Another paragraph. Stop that man, yelled Prabhupada from the balcony of his residence in Vrindavan. A devotee came running and grabbed the man as he exited from the kitchen. "See what he has?" asked Prabhupada. They picked up the man's chadar and found he was carrying a large bag of sugar he had stolen from the kitchen. Prabhupada had seen it all from the balcony and had caught him. Today, just over a year since I first joined Srila Prabhupada, I made my greatest blunder. In the morning, as usual, Srila Prabhupada went up upon the roof and through his room to the back veranda in order to rest in the sunshine. I left him there, thinking if he needed anything, he would ring the bell to call. The bell was just inside the room. But due to my dull brain, as I walked through the room, I closed the door behind me unconsciously. I closed the door behind me and unconsciously slid the bolt. I slid the bolt. Sometime later, a man came running from the guest house and shouted, "Srila Prabhupada is trapped on the roof." I immediately realized what I had done and ran upstairs. As I came into the room, Prabhupada was waiting at the fly screen door. When I slid the bolt to let him into the room from the roof, he simply said, "You rascal. I have been here for almost an hour. You have so much dull brain from so much voracious eating and sleeping." He was very angry, but he did not shout. There was no need. The offense was obvious and nonsensical. He had awakened and could not get through. Neither could he reach the bell to ring me. And it was 45 minutes before he could attract anyone's attention. Later on in the afternoon, I came to apologize to Srila Prabhupada for what I had done, and he very kindly forgave me. But again, he warned me that I should be very careful to be more attentive in my service. Otherwise, I would cause great inconvenience to him. Verse 30. Again, little drops of nectar. Srila Prabhupada displayed his tolerance and lenience in accepting the sometimes inexpert offerings of his disciples. He demonstrated this amply at the San Francisco Rath Yatra in 1970 by accepting some unusual clothing which the devotees had sewn for him. Bhavananda had purchased imported silk. Narayan had purchased pearl buttons and set them in gold. And Dina Dayadri and Chitralekha had worked very meticulously on sewing Prabhupada a Western style cowboy shirt. The shirt had sewn pockets with pearl buttons on them. The dhoti was supposed to complete a matching set along with a Prabhupada hat made for the occasion. When Prabhupada put on the dhoti, the cloth was so wide that the dhoti dragged on the ground. This can be seen in a series of photos of Prabhupada at the 1970 Rath Yatra. The cowboy shirt had its own unusual appearance, and as for the hat, it was too small and stuck up on the top of his head. Prabhupada tolerantly accepted and wore the clothes offered by his American boys and girls. Next paragraph. While Srila Prabhupada was speaking in his room, his disciple, Rukmini Devi Dasi, who was left-handed, was busily writing notes on Prabhupada's talk. The left-handed phenomenon seemed strange to Prabhupada, and he finally commented on it. "You write like Gargamuni," said Prabhupada, "backwards and topsy-turvy." Prabhupada then said that he had once seen a man in Calcutta who played harmonium with his elbows, kartals with his knees, and mridanga with his feet. Prabhupada seemed to think that the backwards and topsy-turvy writing was in a similar category. Number Our business is to glorify Krishna as Lord of Vrindavan and to popularize Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Hare Krishna movement. I was a resident of Vrindavan, but at the age of 70, I tried to preach Krishna consciousness a little bit, and now this institution has come out. So I think it is more profitable to preach about the master of Vrindavan, Krishna, outside of Vrindavan. A devotee of Krishna can create Vrindavan everywhere by preaching the glories of Krishna. There are many sahajiyas who imitate Rupa Goswami not to go out of Vrindavan, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu always remained outside of Vrindavan for preaching purposes, although he is the master of Vrindavan personally. I have no objection to your coming to Vrindavan, but as you have accepted the sannyas order, it is more important to preach about Vrindavan rather than come to Vrindavan. That was a letter dated November 18th, 1976. Another paragraph. The purpose of sannyas is that now one has no hindrance for preaching work. The purpose is to increase preaching. So if one takes sannyas and does not increase preaching, there is no value. So you take this opportunity seriously by preaching and inspire others to also preach. Then there will be no question of thinking of other things. This will all vanish. It's a letter, didn't say who the letter's to, August 21st, 1975. Another letter. So far your question that the women sew clothes for sannyasis, or sannyasis deities, it is not possible. Sannyasis may have no connection with women. So far your question that the women sew clothes for sannyasis deities, the deities of sannyasis. It is not possible. Sannyasis have no connection with women. Letter of January 13th, 1976. Regarding taking sannyas, this mentality that either I will have sex life or I will take sannyas, this is not proper. Sannyas means that one is finished with material life. So you have gotten married and you are in family life. So you should remain there. You thought that by getting married, you will expand your service. So you should do that. Actually, all my disciples are sannyasis because they have surrendered everything in the service of Krishna. Letter of November 21st, 1975. The next letter. That you cannot stay anywhere very long due to the rules of your visa is a blessing in disguise. It is very good for a sannyasi. Narada Muni was similarly cursed by Daksha that he could not stay anywhere very long, and this only increases preaching. So you also increase your preaching and be more merciful to a greater number of persons. Letter of January 24th, 1976. Another letter. Regarding returning to your own village, a sannyasi is not supposed to go back to his own village. Letter of September 21st, 1975. The spirit soul is equal in either a man or a woman. For one who is actually engaged in the service of Krishna, there is no distinction as man or woman. In the Bhagavad Gita, 6th chapter, 1st verse, it is stated, Anashrita karma palam karyam karma karotiya sa sannyasi cha yogi cha na niranir na chakriyaha. Anyone acting for Krishna, he is a sannyasi, or sannyasini. No. It is also stated, Srila Vaishishtata Sudras Tepi Yanti Param Gatim. So spiritually, everyone is equal, but materially, a woman cannot be given sannyas. But you should not be bothered because you are certainly on the spiritual platform. The letter, February 4th, 1976. Regarding your wanting to leave your family and take sannyas, what is your family? You live outside from your wife, and you have no children. So you are already a sannyas. Anyway, we can consider later on. First, we have to push this movement. That is most important. July 29th, 1975. I think that B, the name's not spelled out, so I think that B dot should follow the example of Rupa Goswami. Rupa Goswami took sannyas and gave 50% in charity, 25% for family use, and he kept 25% for emergencies. Krishna wants to see that their life is sacrificed, but also accumulation of money should be given to Krishna. Life to Krishna and money to wife is not a good decision. Life to Krishna and money to wife. I don't understand that. Always read that again. I think that B should follow the example of Rupa Goswami. Rupa Goswami took sannyas and gave 50% in charity, 25% for family use, and he kept 25% for emergencies. Krishna wants to see that their life is sacrificed, but also accumulation of money should be given to Krishna. Life to Krishna and money to wife is not a good decision. Okay. It's a letter from February 21st, 1976. Another letter. If you feel Maya, attractive, then live an honest life as a householder and contribute to our movement. As a family man, you can join Swarup Damodar and help with the Bhaktivedanta Institute. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said it doesn't matter whether one is a sannyasi, grihastha, brahmana, or shudra. You have intelligence. Study more and more. If you think you should be married, then do that and assist Bhaktivedanta Institute by giving service. My request is that you don't become an ordinary foolish man. Keep Krishna consciousness in any condition of life. That is success. And that was from a letter, October 29th, 1976. Chapter 32. Prabhupada tells his story. In a lecture on August 5th, 1972 in San Diego, Prabhupada was explaining how foolish people demand to see God. But no one can see God unless he has the qualification of faithfulness. It is not a frivolous thing that one can simply ask or challenge, "Can you show me God?" Rather, one must be serious and eager to actually see God. Hearing submissively about God, one may develop the desire to see Him. There is a story in this connection. It is very instructive. Try to hear. One professional reciter was reciting about Bhagavat, describing that Krishna, being highly decorated with all jewels, is sent for tending the cows in the forest. There was a thief at that meeting, and when he heard about Krishna, he thought, why not go to Vrindavan and plan to catch this boy in the forest with so many valuable jewels? I can go there and catch the child, take all his jewels. That was the thief's intention. He was serious, thinking, I must find out that boy. Then in one night, I will become a millionaire. He went there to Vrindavan. His qualification was, I must see Krishna. I must see Krishna. That anxiety, that eagerness made it possible that in Vrindavan he saw Krishna. He saw Krishna in the same way he was informed by the Bhagavad reader. Then he thought, you are such a nice boy, Krishna. He began to flatter. He thought that flattering, yes, I will take all those jewels. But then he proposed his real business to Krishna. I may take some of your ornaments. You are so rich. No, said Krishna, my mother will be angry. I cannot do it. Krishna was only a child, so he became more and more eager for Krishna. And then by Krishna's association, he had already become purified. At last Krishna said, all right, you can take. But then the man became a devotee because by his association, some way or other, but then the man became a devotee because by Krishna's association, some way or other, we should come in contact with Krishna. Some way or other, then we will become purified. So the point is, by hearing about Krishna regularly, then we can become attracted to Krishna. And we can be very attracted to Krishna. Like we read Krishna book, we read about Krishna's pastimes, and we accept or have faith, but mostly it's faith. We have faith that these are not just stories; they're it's eternal pastimes. They happen in the past; they're happening at present, and we can be part of those. So we have that faith, then we can enter into them. Oh, I'm seeing some messages coming in here. Okay, here's one. I like hearing Srila Prabhupada Nectar. Srila Prabhupada would always bring the devotees back to Shastra and not their own speculations and ideas. Another message. Thank you for class, referring to the part that discusses the Varnashram system. Does the Varnashram system apply just to men, or is it for men and women? Do women also take sannyas? Does Shastra say anywhere in the 4 ashrams system that it applies to both men and women? Varnashram system, women do not take sannyas. No. Because women are always supposed to be protected, and they're always the Vedic system is that women are always under the care of somebody. As a child, under the care of father, as a Shishi Gauranitai, Shishi Radha Vrata Vihari, Jagannath, Balaram, Lady Subhadra, and Shringade, Prahlad Maharaj, Ki Jai. In middle part of life, usually married and under the care of the husband, and in old age, then under the care of grown-up children, who are not children anymore, they're grown-up adults, and they will take care of the mother. So always under the protection of someone. So a sannyasi is not under the care of anyone in that sense, except Krishna, of course, who is protecting all of us ultimately. Okay. So going on. Number 33, Prabhupada tells short stories. There is a very instructive story, and it is a historical fact. The Muslim emperor Akbar once inquired from his minister, how long does one remain in lusty desires? The minister replied, up to the point of death. Akbar did not believe it, and he said, no, how can you say that? All right, said the minister, I shall reply in time. So one day, all of a sudden, the minister approaches the emperor and said, you be immediately ready to come with me and your young daughter. Akbar knew that his minister was very intelligent and that there must be some purpose. He went with him, and the minister took him to a person who was going to die. The minister then asked Akbar, kindly study the man who was about to die on his face. So Akbar noticed that as he and his young daughter were entering, the dying man was looking to the face of the young girl. In this way, Akbar understood. Yes, what you said is true. Up to the last point of death, the desire is there to see the face of a young girl. This is called dushparena. It is never fulfilled. This attraction of man and woman and family life continues. Another paragraph. Once there was a monkey who was jumping around in the forest when he saw a big tree that was half cut through with a plug wedged in it. The system of woodcutters was that they would sometimes cut half through a big tree, leave it for the day, and then come back and cut the rest of it the next day. In the meantime, to preserve their cut, they would put a plug there. This monkey became very curious about the half-cut tree and managed to push out the plug. The big tree suddenly joined and cut off his tail. The moral the moral is, mind your own business. Okay, number 34, personal. Meticulous. The chapter name is personal, the section is meticulous. Prabhupada was meticulous. He put on his Vaishnav tilak that way, artistically and methodically, performing each function. He used his pen that way also. He took it out of his pen box, used it, and then returned it to the box on his desk. Prabhupada warned his servants never to touch anything or move anything on his desk. His book writing was also like that. His standard was that each and every word out of tens of thousands of words from thousands of verses must have its own synonym. Prabhupada had a limited time for writing the Bhagavatam every day, yet he never diminished his standard that each word get its own synonym. Then he always gave English translation and then a purport. Whenever he saw the editors or publishers failing in this meticulous standard, he became very upset. In general, he demanded his disciples be very careful in all their activities. Deity worship, for example, he only gradually introduced because of its meticulous demands. When a devotee who worships a deity inquired how to obtain bhava, or ecstatic attachment to the Lord, Prabhupada replied by stressing a meticulous following of the rules and regulations. The devotees should be punctual, clean, and give the deity nice dresses and food. Srila Prabhupada was particularly meticulous in handling finance for Krishna, especially in India. He personally looked into the accounting and saw down to the single rupee how his managers spent money. That next section, his self-sacrifice to give Krishna consciousness to others. Srila Prabhupada always stressed that Krishna consciousness should be given to others and that one should sacrifice his own activities to do that. Prabhupada spent his own energies lecturing on an elementary level again and again, but he was enthusiastic to do it. He didn't just sit in one place and think of Krishna, but he dedicated himself, always traveling, giving his all. Sometimes even his main work of writing was put aside in order to travel in India to carry out the instruction of his spiritual master. As for the writings themselves, they were aimed at welfare work to help others. Thus he promoted the Bhagavatam to help people in Krishna consciousness, to provide his followers and other readers with sufficient scripture, because by reading, their lives would become perfect. This was the special nature of Prabhupada's Krishna consciousness, that all of his activities were aimed at distributing it. Thus, he would always give time to his own devotees and answer their questions and guide them. If one claimed to be a devotee, Prabhupada could size him up because if one claimed to be a devotee, Prabhupada could size him up to see whether he had any of Prabhupada's spirit to give his life to Krishna consciousness. Since no one could measure up to Prabhupada's commitment, he could cut down in a no-nonsense way any person's pretension of spiritual stature. Yet, although Prabhupada had the power to do this, he was always humble about himself and his own contribution. He said, for example, that he was fallen, that he was not a great scholar, that he was just trying to carry out the order of his Guru Maharaj, that he had no good qualities of his own. However, Krishna says of a person like Prabhupada that he is the dearmost servant who will ever be. Prabhupada also encouraged whatever little spark of self-sacrifice he found in others. Sometimes when a person is very intensely involved in his own cause or a cause for which he is working, he may have to sacrifice very personal and lovable qualities. Yet although Prabhupada was fully intent in the campaign to spread and organize Krishna consciousness, he was always full of lovable personal qualities. He appeared to be a simple, spontaneous, and of course highly spiritual to whomever he met as he extended Krishna consciousness to them according to their capacity to realize it. Yes, Srila Prabhupada always remained very simple. And Srila Prabhupada would also sometimes write very extensive letters to disciples, and asking, writing to someone saying, how is so-and-so, somebody who may have been sick, how is so-and-so, I'll make sure she takes this kind of medicine. She's got this cold thing, make sure she drinks some ginger and lemon or something like that. You would give those kind of instructions. So he was very personal, always with the devotees. He also wrote me a letter one time. I think I'll read one time. Yeah, it's in the database or somewhere it's written. Anyway, but he would write very personal letters. He would answer everyone's letters personally. Now I think it's difficult sometimes devotees who are initiating gurus. Sometimes they may have a lot of disciples and have others assisting like that in answering questions. But Srila Prabhupada would personally answer all of his letters. In fact, he was at one point, probably towards the end of his presence in this world, and it probably was like this way before that, but I knew of it at that point. He was writing. He was answering approximately 25 letters a day at that point, plus everything else he was doing. So you can imagine, we have trouble writing a letter to someone sometimes. But Srila Prabhupada was writing and answering or writing average of 25 letters a day at that point in his life. So he was very much caring about everyone in the Krishna consciousness movement. So we can read a little bit more. Number 35, realizations. There is a devotee in Vrindavan named Vishal, who is sometimes a source of comic relief because he has some humorous character traits. One time I saw how Vishal became like a little boy in front of Srila Prabhupada and pleased him. On one particular day, Prabhupada was having darshan with a room full of Indians. Vishal suddenly walked in along with his wife. Although Prabhupada was preaching, Vishal entered with such a commotion that Prabhupada's conversation came to a halt. Some of the people in the room looked at Vishal as a source of disturbance, but Vishal went ahead and paid his full obeisances to Prabhupada in a very loud voice. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namani. As Vishal became the focus of the room's attention, I was thinking, boy, this guy is really something. Then Vishal sat up and walked right up to Prabhupada's table. He was carrying a little wicker basket covered with a cloth, and he placed this in front of Prabhupada, pulled the cover off, and said to Prabhupada, my wife made some simply wonderfuls for a simply wonderful spiritual master. Vishal said it with a total big smile, and Srila Prabhupada also smiled back in a complete way. Then I began to think, now that is the kind of thing I would like to do in front of Srila Prabhupada one of these days. I would like to be able to be I would like to be able to be so unattached, so uninhibited, just once to go in front of Prabhupada and to be able to glorify him. If I could only say something praiseworthy of Prabhupada. Because usually there was a great debate in my mind going back and forth. I would think, I would go ahead and say this to Prabhupada, and then I would think, no, that's not worthy enough. Then I would think, well, what about this? And then I would think, no, that is not good enough. I usually ended up not saying anything. There would be a long silence, and then whatever opportunity I had to praise Prabhupada, which is a disciple's duty, would slip through my fingers. Yet Vishal had come in, and he just did it, and he flinged unabashed. Okay. When Prabhupada smiled, the whole room full of people felt relieved. At first, when Prabhupada had come in, everything had become quiet and heavy because he had been interrupted. Prabhupada had been interrupted. Now, because Prabhupada was pleased, everyone else was pleased. Then Vishal did another fascinating thing. He turned around and faced the entire room, reached into a little shoulder bag he was wearing, and pulled out some Back to Godhead magazines. He started preaching about Prabhupada and Prabhupada's books and Back to Godhead, and he just went ahead and distributed them to all the people in the room. The thing was done so nicely that he had the whole room completely charmed and friendly. Prabhupada just sat back, and you could see that Prabhupada was pleased with him. Vishal went on glorifying Prabhupada's books and told how professors in the West reviewed the books. Many of the Indians in the room didn't even speak enough English to follow all of what Vishal was saying. But because of his mood, everyone became relaxed. Then, to end the whole thing, Vishal did something else that really blew my mind. He turned to Srila Prabhupada and said, Srila Prabhupada, my beloved spiritual master, I read all of your books except for one. I haven't read the Madhya Lila Volume 3. At that time, Madhya Lila had just come out, and the only person in Vrindavan with a copy was Prabhupada, because a copy had just been sent to him from the West. After a silent pause, Vishal said, Srila Prabhupada, may I borrow your copy? The devotees in the room were stunned at his boldness. But Prabhupada simply called Navayogendra forward and said, give him the Madhya Lila Volume 3. Vishal, very pleased, took the book and exited after a wonderful exchange with Prabhupada. That was written by Kundali Das Adhikari. Okay, I'll just read one more section here. A devotee took me to see Srila Prabhupada. It was in Los Angeles in 1968, and I went into his room. When I first saw him, I thought, I should be nice to this old man and say something nice. The first thing I asked him was, "How are you feeling, sir?" Srila Prabhupada immediately pointed to his deities. He said, "With Radha and Krishna here, how could anyone not be well?" I didn't understand what he was speaking about or what the deities were. I just sat there, and then he started talking to me. After receiving his darshan, I became very impressed. I had some money in my pocket, and I thought I would give him an offering. So I took out the money, about $100, and gave it to Prabhupada. He embraced me and touched my head. And at that moment, I felt that I had found my true father. When I left Prabhupada's room, I kept walking down a long road, and all I could think about was how I was going to stay with Prabhupada. I had no conception at all of what Krishna consciousness was or devotional service, but Prabhupada was such a wonderful person that by visiting him for an hour, my heart was totally captivated. This was written by Dina Nath Das Adhikari. Oh, okay, let me just read the other paragraph in this section. When I first met Prabhupada, I was 8 years old. The first time he said something to me personally was on a morning walk in Venice Beach. I ran up to Prabhupada and said, "Prabhupada, I have found these shells. What should I do with them?" Srila Prabhupada looked at me. He put his cane in the sand and he said, "Put them down and wash your hands." It was just a little instruction, but I felt so happy that Prabhupada told me to put down the shells and wash my hands. I immediately ran back to the water, put the shells down, and washed my hands. Then I came back and followed Prabhupada. It wasn't so much the things that Prabhupada did. It was Prabhupada himself that made them wonderful. Just to be next to him was not only an honor, but it was a pleasure. You wanted to be near him, to hold his feet, to hear from him. You wanted to see him, just like at Kirtan. The devotees would crowd around Prabhupada, and there would be bodyguards to clear a way for him. The wonderful thing was that the way that he did everything. This was written by Raghunath Das. So we'll have to end here. It's getting late. So, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.